I'd like to welcome everybody to the Coaches in the Mouth preseason show. This is Coach Jeff Williams along with Coach Daryl Fimple and our special guest, Thomas Thrash from Hootens Magazine. Guys, welcome to the show and welcome back to football season.
It's football season, buddy. It's hot.
You ain't lying.
Wet
You're
bulb
not
went
lying.
off this morning. Wet bulb went off this morning about 7 o'clock. Got to go indoor.
Exactly. Well, it's heating up. There's no doubt. Well, we're going to break down. Let's get into this 2A right off the shoot. And Thomas and you guys are, we're going to go conference by conference here, but let's jump into it. EPC, y'all got it up there as number one. Been there the last couple of years. Mount Ida, you hit that with them offensive linemen coming back. Junction City's loaded. Cross County's got one of the best players. Bigelow's been there. Poland's really a team that a lot of people are talking about, and we'll get with them. And then Carlisle and Beard and Murfreesboro and Conway Christian wrap up your top 10. Let's go ahead and jump into this 1-2A a little bit. Let's get into Mount Ida with is picked to win it, but by the coaches. And then you got Bigelow, Conway Christian coming off defending state champions Hector Mountainburg. Let's get into this Mount Ida team who's been there 100 times. Thomas, talk to me about that offensive line.
It was 2 years ago that they had a bunch of sophomores starting, and they took their licks. Well, they win 3 games.
Yeah.
But we knew that, so that in 2 years they're going to be coming. Last year I thought they were a year early. I didn't think they'd make it as far in the Final Four. They got to the semis, and really they were a year early. And now they've got 5 guys on the offensive line that will be 3-year starters. I don't know if anybody else in the state has that.
Oh, I don't think so either.
No.
They're going to get in that split back veer, and here it comes inside veer too.
And that's a tough offense. I mean, to have how many games have they played? 24 games. Essentially, in the last 2 years, they've started together as a unit. Going into this, that's just crazy.
Well, it is. So talk to us a little bit before we bring in Coach Kramer from Conway Christian. Talk to us a little bit about Bigelow. They were there 2 years ago. Luke's got those guys. Looks like they really built that program, and it's been consistent.
They won, 7 games last year? It was after they had to completely reload, kind of like Conway Christian this year. They graduated a lot. They had one of the best years in their school history, 15-0, wins the state championship. So now they've rebuilt last year, and I think they're coming back this year. I think they're going to have a good run.
Well, let's do this. We're going to talk about Conway Christian. Let's go ahead and bring on Coach Justin Kramer from Conway Christian. Well, you guys last year just had a magical year. Just were perfect all year long, gotten in the finals with a tough EPC team. You stuck with the plan, got it done, take care of it. Just to recap, how that is going through, and then having to turn the page and get ready for this year.
Yeah, Pete, I laugh because I've said my whole career that my career would be complete without a state championship, and I genuinely mean that. And people that know me believe me. People that don't know me, whatever. But I really, really do mean it, Jeff. It would have been. Having said that, after winning it, it was a lot of fun. So, maybe I didn't know what I didn't know, But, man, it was that you said magical, and that's really what it is. You've been around this business enough to know that, talent is talent and coaching is coaching, and it's all such a combination of moving parts and pieces, and sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't. And man, we were fortunate that we had a combination of some really talented kids, some great dedicated coaches, and honestly, and I know it's cliche to say, but genuinely total buy-in to the things that we were saying and doing. And I don't know how much time I have to answer these questions, so just tell me to stop because I kind of jabber a little bit. But one of my favorite stories is the Junction City game in the semifinals. And if you're familiar with that at all, we were getting our brakes beat off with really no hope in sight, to be honest with you. And we scored late. Jaron scored right before the half, kind of on a long run down the middle. And we were getting ready to go in the locker room, and I didn't know what to say. How do you fix just getting beat up? It's like not a lot of coaching for that. Yeah. I expected to walk into a locker room that maybe be a little dejected, maybe some frustrations, maybe some kids griping, maybe some heads down. That's what I anticipated walking into. What I walked into was kids sitting straight up and down in their lockers, staring at me, and they didn't verbally say it, but what I felt was, Coach, tell us what we're going to do, and we're going to do, and we're going to fix it. We're going to move on. Zero panic, zero, and it's hard to explain how unbelievable that moment was when I walked in there, and I was like, wow, I genuinely thought at that point we had a chance. And if you watch the game, there's no reason we should have felt like we had a chance. So I say all that to say that's kind of how the year went. They just believed in us, and I'm not going to get into all our culture and our mottos and all of that stuff, but they bought into that fully, and it's honestly was an experience I don't think I'll ever forget.
No, you don't forget those, buddy. I can promise you that. I can tell you the whole all about that kind of stuff. Well, let's get into it. You had to
Yeah.
turn the page. I mean, looking at it on paper, you're replacing a lot of guys. Well, you got 3 guys back on offense, 4 back on defense, but you've built a good program there. It's been pretty solid in a tough league. Talk to us a little bit about your team that's coming back and the pieces you're having to juggle and get people in the right spot.
Yeah, it's we're looking forward to it, and it's been really fun, to be honest with you. I'm getting old, man. It's kind of fun to get some new challenges and kind of to experience what we're experiencing. And we had so many juniors that'll be seniors this year, obviously, that were juniors on that team last year that made major contributions. And I tell people one of the great benefits we had last year for our level and for our size was depth,
Yeah.
and that's something you just typically don't have for us. And we had that. And what that means is a lot of those guys played. A lot of these juniors that may not be listed as starters from last year, but they played some valuable quality minutes. They weren't just, minutes in the fourth quarter or whatever. They were quality minutes. So we're excited about that. We're excited about Xander Stone will be back at quarterback, and he played a little bit as a sophomore when Jaron was hurt, so he's got some experience. He's a different athlete than Jaron is. He's a more of a technician. He runs the offense very, very well, makes really good decisions. He's an athlete for sure, but Jaron he was an exception as far as just athleticism. But Xander does such a good job of kind of making sure we're doing what we need to be doing. And Caleb McKinney will be back at running back, and he ran the ball a little bit last year. I think he had about 500 or 600 yards, something like that. But he'll kind of be the staple running back, and we've got 2 good offensive linemen back in Maddox Jones and Lennon Stover, so there's some experience there. So it's not a. I told someone the other day, it's not a bare cupboard. It's just there's not as covered as there was.
Yeah.
So the depth is really the thing. We've got Kyle Kane will be back at receiver. He's a 3-year starter. He's a hard cover. So he'll require some double teams, and he'll do a good job, and that'll help. And then we've just got to find some sophomores to kind of plug in. We have 0 juniors, so I think we have 1. So we've got to figure out where those guys can plug in some of those receiver spots and a couple line spots to really help us out. And then defensively, we got Preston Elliott back at safety. He's a 3-year starter. Bo Campbell at linebacker. He's a 3-year starter. So we've got guys that have played. Um, just just not as much, and they maybe not had they maybe didn't have to play with everything on their shoulders. They were allowed to just kind of go along with the flow, but they've stepped up this summer. They've shown great leadership. So they're doing a good job. We're looking forward to it.
Well, it's just getting your non-conference play. You're on the second cycle.
Yeah.
You've seen these teams already. I mean, my gosh, you going to Hazen, which if you unless you're just dead in Arkansas, that's a tough place to play. I've seen that. And
Yeah.
then you're sitting there with Quitman. Who, that program's been on the uprise in Atkins, and I got to watch him play Mayflower last year in the playoffs, and right at the end of the year. I mean, it's that's a tough non-conference schedule. And then, obviously getting into your league, and which we'll talk about in a minute, but talk to us a little bit about setting these games up and how that's got to prepare you for your non-conference.
Yeah, one thing I've done consistently as a head coach is had a fairly difficult non-conference schedule, especially on the years where I think we're going to have a chance to be competitive. A lot of people don't necessarily love that, but man, my deal is I absolutely want to win those first 3 or 4 games. I'm not a fool, but at the same time, I want to come out of them and I always tell people I want to know what we're good at and what we're bad at. Like I want them to matter. If we can win them, that's a positive. If we can get into conference play and we can go, okay, these are our strengths. These are our weaknesses. These are those things that we think can be strengths, but we need to spend a little bit of time on them. And so that's what those non-conference games are intended for. Well, in a situation like we're in, I set those up for the fact that I felt like we were going to be pretty good last year. Um, well, now now we get to run right into them right off the start with these guys and so it's going to be a challenge. And I talked to him actually about it yesterday. And like, guys, you have to understand, we're not just preparing for a season and trying to do the best we can and get through conference. We've got to go into these. We have so many questions going into these non-conference games. We're going to have to answer a lot of questions, and we're going to have a little bit of mental toughness, and we're going to have to understand that there's a reality that we're 0-3, 1-2. Best case scenario, we're 3-0. But I mean, my goodness, like you said, hazing's hazing every day, every day. You know, um, Atkins. I, I don't even. I'm having nightmares just thinking about that already. Like I don't. That we won that game on a missed field goal at the end of the game, and I think they got everybody back. So I mean, that's going to be tough. And then equipment's just growing every year, and they've always got depth, and they just kind of keep coming. So those are three tough games, and I think if I'm not mistaken, we roll right into Mount Ida right after that.
Yeah, you
I
sure did. That's what I
mean,
was going to tell you. Rolling. I mean, you got Mount Ida sitting there, who's a traditional 2A power.
yeah,
Coach has been over there for 100 years, and they run that option, that veer deal, and I mean they beautiful, great place to play. I wouldn't want to go over and play them, but that's a beautiful place to play. But you got them. Then you're sitting there. A year ago, we're sitting right now. Bigelow was defending state champions. They're sitting there right in your league
yeah,
also, and looks like they got a chance to make another run. Talk
yeah.
to us a little bit about the 1-2A and where you see it overall in the state wise.
Yeah, man. I really like our conference. First of all, I'm not just saying this. The coaches in our conference are phenomenal coaches. They're phenomenal human beings. Most of us text on the weekends just goofing off. I mean, talking about golf or whatever. I think Cooper plays golf about every other day at Hector. I'm not sure what he does. Like, I don't know what he teaches. He plays golf every day. So Starks and I are really good friends. We talk a lot. We're actually like whatever fifth cousins or some weird thing. But we're fortunate that the conference is very good. It's very competitive. Coach White, I mean, what you gonna
Yeah, man.
when
Hall
you're
of Famer,
coaching
man.
against a guy on the other sideline whose name is on the field house, that's usually not that's usually not a situation you want to be in. So it's fun. It's a fun league. It's competitive. Um, but it's tough. It's really tough. And I mean, Mount Ida, they could have given our senior high a run with their junior high last year, and they're all in senior high, and he's got everybody back, so they're just going to be good. Plus, what they do, I mean,
Yeah.
I told someone last year, I think I made this comment. We've played them 3 times in the 8 years, 9 years I've been at Conway Christian. And I think in the 3 games, there's been about 400 points scored. And we've lost one by 5, one by 2, and we won one by 1 or some crazy. So, that's never fun. And then Luke's got Bigelow just rolling over there, and he just kind of seems to keep reloading. We did a team camp with them last week, and they're good. They're good. And then Coach Cooper, like I said, at Hector's probably one of the better high school coaches I know, as far as just scheming and just doing what he's doing. And so it's a tough deal. But that's what we're doing. I mean, it's the
Oh yeah.
competition of it wouldn't be fun if you just roll out there and roll over people. So
I guarantee it. Well, let's look at, and I just talked to Coach Powell a little bit, and uh, overall in the statewide, they're sitting in number one. You know how talented they are. You've seen them. They've been there the last 2 years. You're talking about Carlisle. You're talking about Junction City. Cross County's got the best football player, biggest top prospect in the state
yeah,
over there. Good luck
yeah,
blocking that guy. I
yeah,
mean, from top Mount Ida, you name Bigelow. I mean, you name them all. Where do y'all fall in? I mean, you know the league. You know how to get there and win it. Obviously,
Yeah.
what I mean, where do y'all fall at in the middle of that, and what do you need to do to get back to War Memorial?
I don't. That's a great question, Jeff. I don't know where we fall in that. Somewhere, we're right now we're below a few of those. I can tell you that. I mean, Powell. I think I texted you earlier. He's a stud. Listen. I'll say this about him, and I know this isn't a brag on Coach Powell's show, but at this level, it's always impressive when teams can go to the state finals back to back or back to back to back or I mean Greenwood, it's basically their home field or whatever, but Parkview last couple years, Bryant, like those guys that have just kind of done it year in and year, that's impressive. Don't get me wrong. It is hard to do. When you do it at our level and you lose your whole team and you go back to that game and you've got a former right guard at quarterback and you've got all the stuff that they have, like you're doing a job. And then he's got all those guys coming back. They're going to be tough. They're just good. They're really good. And Mount I, like I said, Coach White, what he does, he just does it so well. He coaches it so well that I don't think you're allowed to go to school there if you don't know how to run the flip back veer. Like it's just his son's at quarterback, or I assume will be at quarterback as a sophomore. Like they're just very, very, very good. And Junction's Junction. I mean, I think they got quite a few. I know they lost the running back kid, but I promise they got plenty.
Yeah,
Coach Ball does a good job there, and he's from there and all of that stuff. So, and then like I said, Cross County. I mean, it's just really hard. The thing that I think is a positive is that it's really hard. So there's years where sometimes it's really just about matchups. I was talking to. We hired a former player of mine, Bo Stevenson. We hired him as a coach for us this year, and he played on my first two teams here where we lost to Mount Ida in the quarterfinals back to back, and we were talking about his junior year. We had to play Fordyce, and then we had to turn around and play Mount Ida, and just the physicality of that. And I believe if we didn't have to play Fordyce before Mount Ida, they beat us 52-50 that year. If we didn't have to play Fordyce the week before, maybe that game's different, So sometimes it's just timing and matchups, and you just never really know. So it's hard, and so I think because of that, we definitely have a shot, but we've got some work to do. I'm not going to lie, we've got to get after it, and we've got to find some people to fill in some spots, and we will, and they'll do it. And they like I said, we work out every morning at 7 o'clock, and we're about 90% attendance. They're there, they're ready to go. So I'm fortunate that I've had two of my coaches, one for all 9 years, another one I've had for 4, one for 3. So for a smaller school, we're retaining our coaches and retaining our staff, and man, that is as big as anything,
That's hard anywhere anymore, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I feel good about it. So I'm cautiously optimistic. How about that?
There's nothing wrong with that, Coach. It is. I never was. It was doom and gloom all the time, man. I mean, my way my wife told me since I got out of coaching, I'm a more positive human being all around life. But that's just the way it is. Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking time with us, and like I said, congratulations last year for flipping it over. I'm excited. Look, I mean, and I tell you what, and I tell you guys that come on here is y'all do a great job for people like me. It's your non-conference. People are going out and playing people.
Yes, sir.
I used to, everybody's a little hesitant sometimes a little bit about that, but and that's what makes it fun and makes this game exciting. What makes Arkansas high school football great and everything.
Yes, sir.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on, man. We look forward. You'll be a few games a week. Looking at your schedule, I can tell you that right now. And we'll be, Coach Fimple and the Mouth will be checking your work and talking about you a little bit and your team, and hope it's all positive and everything. Well, appreciate you coming on, Coach, and we'll have you back on.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate what you guys do as well. So thank you.
All righty. Take care, Coach. Well, you heard him. Obviously, they're replacing a lot of people. They're defending state champs and all that part of it. But they're you know, he's got a lot to rebuild, but he talked about the depth of the conference a little bit. Daryl, what's your thought on this 1-2A a little bit?
Well, you look at it, and it's usually the same characters that we've had in the past couple of years. You know, they've built it, and you look at their offense and defensive line. They usually have some experience returning there. You know, Conway Christian's got 2 offensive linemen back. You know, having to replace running backs and so much the skill spots, especially in smaller schools, is really, really tough. It's really impossible to replace linemen. So if you have any returning linemen, I think that's the biggest edge in this league. And like I said, these guys are traditional winners. So, you know, that kind of plays into it, especially in small schools.
Yeah. Well, let's jump over that 2-2A. You got your number 1 team, East Poinsett County, sitting right there. Coach Powell, we're going to talk to him a little bit. You sitting there with Cross County, Van Pascal, who's traditionally been he knows how to get there and win state championships. They got one of the best players in the state. Mark Tree, Earl McCroy, here's County, Mariana. Thomas, let's hit EPC a little bit. Talk to us before we bring on Coach Powell. I mean, you guys got them ranked number 1. They've been to the finals. They're knocking at the door.
Yeah, you know, they've got not just Jacob Gaines.
Yeah.
You know, they got D. Buchanan, who has also 1,300 yards rushing. So it's kind of a two-headed monster.
2,700 yards rushing returning. Do you understand? Those 2 guys, almost 3,000 yards between them. You know, that's unbelievable. And Gaines might be the worst one in this family. That's what's awesome. That guy's a phenomenal player. He might be the worst one in his family. Go on, yeah.
Well, Thomas, talk to us a little bit about Cross County also.
You know, Cross County, Danny Beal, is coming back as one of the most anticipated, recruits. I don't even know where all he's been offered from, but Van Pascal, you don't win 280 million games by accident. And you know this, and y'all both know this. I mean, he's got a great philosophy. He's been there. This is his second year, I think. So last year was his first year, and going into the second year, I feel like they can make a run. But they're in a tough conference. Their conference championship is really a kind of like a state championship type of teams. But I do look forward to them and their matchup. Let's see, what week is it? October 10th is when the APC comes to Cross County.
Yeah, let's do it. Daryl, break it down before we bring on Coach Powell from EPC. Talk to us about this conference. We've been watching EPC, been knocking at that door, buddy.
Well, once again, EPC is there every year. And here's the thing about EPC is they don't turn it over. They can ground and pound you. They can go over the top. They're looking to, open it up a little bit more offensively, in the passing game. I think Coach really believes in that. Cross County comes in. That's one of those schools that's, Van Pascal's been there. They're trying to form a tradition. And like I said, they probably have the best player in the state of Arkansas. They have a dominant offensive line. He's going to run it. They're not going to turn it. They're going to be really kind of an old school philosophy of not turning it over either. And I think that's the biggest thing in this league. And like Thomas said, when you're playing each other, you're only getting better. Especially, it's the old saying, when you get in the playoffs, it all comes down to matchups and how you match up. And in this league, heck, they're not going to be scared of anybody playing each other like this. But man,
well, let's waste no.
I want to talk about.
I think a lot of it too is going to be home field advantage stuff. The travel, the whole 9 yards buys into it and plays into that. But this is one of those leagues that you look at somebody that's coming out of this league that they've got a chance to win it.
Yeah, Desark. You're
Desark.
right.
So Desark got a new coach, Coach Smith. Which is tradition rich. So they're going to be coming in with a lot of excitement for this year. Then you got Mark Tree. They lose their 4-star running back goes to Bryant, but they've still got a lot of talent. And then you got McCroy. And Earl. Those talented teams. I think McCroy may surprise some people this year.
So you looking at McCroy's your surprise look here. And Desark's the other one, and I'm with you a little bit about Desark and that part of it. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and bring on the head coach from EPC, Coach Brandon Powell. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I love the show.
Well, hey, we appreciate you coming on. Let's just jump into this deal, man. And let's kind of recap. Last 2 years, y'all been right there in War Memorial Stadium, and here we are. We're coming in 2025. Hooten's got you. You guys got the bullseye on your back, ranked number 1 overall. Yeah. You're ranked number 1 in the coaches poll in your conference. And you've got 10 guys back on offense, 9 guys back on defense. It all starts with Mr. Gaines. Talk to us a little bit about your team, and then we'll talk about your conference a little bit.
We only graduated 3 seniors off last year's team. We wouldn't expected to make it to World Memorial last year, so those juniors really stepped up and played big roles. We got 13 seniors this year. It's the biggest group of seniors I've had since I've been there. So that's exciting, and there's a ton of experience. Those guys played in 2 state championship games, so we're excited about the experience coming back and the talent with it.
Well, and you've got it. I mean, the Gaines guys, they've been around there. You've got a lot of great players. Let's get into it a little bit. Let's talk about your non-conference schedule a little bit. I mean, you have loaded it up. I know you're on the second-year cycle, but you got Walnut Ridge, who is in the 3A up there. That's in a very difficult conference. Had a great year last year. People think they're going to be very good again this year. Then you got at Rivercrest, and trust me, I've been over there and played a few times. That's always a tough place to play. And they got Buda Harris and that bunch, and they're loaded up. They're always ready to play. And then you got Manila. Talk to us a little bit about setting that up. You did it last year, getting it the way you needed it, knowing your conference. Talk about those first 3 weeks and how important they are getting you ready for your conference play.
Right, Walnut Ridge has been in a conference with us, and those always
Yeah.
really good games and chippy games. So when they moved up to 3A, we decided to keep that in the cycle. So we're gonna play them every year as long as we can. But they're a great football team. They're a physical football team, so they really get you ready for that ground and pound and those big physical football teams. Then if you can make it through that week, we get a bye week, so we kind of get a week to kind of heal up a little bit after that. Then we go to Rivercrest. We used to scrimmage them every year. Then they changed up their scrimmage game to Pocahontas, so we went and put them on the schedule because
I told Coach Chester he's crazy doing that too, but
But those guys, they're state playoffs every year, state championship games every 2 or 3 years. It seems like so. Playing those 2 teams right out the gate, we find out who we are really early, and we make those adjustments moving into conference play. But those 2, yeah, they're tough 2 weeks right there.
Well,
Start the season off with.
It is, and then you're talking about your conference and the 2A, and you're sitting there. Cross County's got the best players supposedly in the state, and I've seen him. We were having a conversation off there with some other coaches earlier. I don't know how you block that guy. I mean, he's unbelievable. And then Desark sitting right there, and Mark Tree's been kind of a thorn. That's a big game every week 10. Talk to us about your conference and where you see that your conference playing out and yourself and overall in the state a little bit.
Well, I believe our conference is the best conference in the state, top to bottom, no doubt. And the amount of D1 players I've coached against in 2A conference is unreal. It's been unreal. And across county, like I said, they're huge. They got big old kids up front, and they're hard to move. So you really got to make them play in space. Desart's going to be a contender every year. They're going to make you play their style of football, and they block well. They play sound defense. So they're tough. But I've been seeing Earl this summer, and
Yeah.
the Earl Bulldogs, they're going to be pretty dang good. They've had 2 junior high conference championships in this group, so I look for them to be right there in the mix with everybody else. They're talented as anybody.
Well, it is from top to bottom. You get into it, and you're talking about, staying healthy and that part, and you guys just beat each other up, and y'all have done a great job of making long runs in the playoffs. I mean, y'all been to War Memorial the last 2 years against a good Conway Christian team, and you guys have gotten there. What's it going to take? You know how to get there. What's it going to take to get there and win it? And just getting there is accomplishment. But what do you? I mean, you're there. Your kids understand that they've tasted it. They've been in the locker room. They've been through the warm up and that whole deal at War Memorial and played that long. What's the key to y'all's success, and what's it going to take for you guys to win it?
I think in the past we've worried so much about the other team that we're playing the opponent that we just spent so much time on them that we didn't take care of ourselves come that game. We made the bad mistakes, and you lose close ball games, make those bad mistakes. So if we make it back this year, we're going to focus on ourselves and try to play the cleanest games we can because it's turned into 2 big turnovers in both games that kind of cost us.
Well, it happens. I've been there. I've been there and lost a few of myself. But let's get into it though. I mean, overall state wise, I mean, you got it. There's 4 or 5 teams in there, 6, 7 that can make a run. You guys, you're talking about Junction City, Carlisle. Poland's got a good team. Then we mentioned some in your conferences, and Conway Christian, Bigelow, who y'all played 2 years ago in the state finals. Talk to us a little bit what 2A looks like. If you got a crystal ball, you're looking in it. What's it overall look like right now?
Man, I think there's a lot of talent in 2A football. Like you said, Junction City is going to be a great football team. super talented. Mount Ida was a young football team. We played in the semifinals last year. They're going to be a good football team. Garden played us really well in Lepanto last year. I expect them to be just a physical, good football team. Like, there's guys teams all across state that can play. You got to be healthy, and you get a home game in the playoff. That makes a big deal.
Well, you got to be healthy and a little lucky and get the right matchups. I mean, that
Right.
to me,
It's
I
all
think
about matchups.
it's all about matchups and who you match up with in that part. Well, Coach, hey, we're excited. Y'all got that cross county game's going to be a big one. I can see Walnut Ridge early on. You're going to hit a few top 10 games a week. We love checking you guys out on the YouTube. Daryl Fimple he's on you guys every week, man. He's all fired up, and we're fired up about watching you guys play this year.
We appreciate it. We're excited to get this thing going.
Well, good deal. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on. We'll see you down the road, and we'll be checking your work.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Well, you can tell Coach Powell feels really confident in his bunch. I mean, he's got the guys back, what we talked about. You hit McCroy, and I'm going to ask you, Daryl, too, but let's go with Thomas first. You like McCroy as a dark horse, EPC, obviously, you feel pretty confident in those guys.
And see, Desark and McCroy are two of the ones that I think have a lot of excitement coming in. Desark, just tradition-rich power, power of high school football. And then McCroy, I just think Coach Campbell's done a really good job. I actually played against him. He actually threw like 4 touchdowns against me when I was coaching at Clarendon. So he threw 4 touchdowns when I was coaching at Clarendon. I hated him then, but he's done a great job, and I think McCroy may turn the page this year.
Daryl, who dark horse, or you just on the EPC cross county and that bunch?
I'm telling you right now, I think the dark horse in that league and somebody to watch out for is Poen. They're not in that league, but I'm talking about classification wise. I think in that league, I think Mark Tree still is. I mean,
always there.
They're going to have athletes galore, even though they keep getting offs. But I mean, Mark Tree's traditionally one of those places where if they're your 4th seed, it's kind of scary, especially if you're matched up on the other side of them. I mean, I wouldn't want the Tree come to my place in the first round of the playoff.
First round.
So I would think that Mark Tree's probably there, like Tom said, but with McCrory, it's one of those things. He's kind of established what they're going to be about. So they always got a chance. But I think Mark Tree in that league is the one that could screw some stuff up.
Well, let's move on. Let's go down south to that 3-3A, which, we talked about. Junction City's loaded up, had a long playoff run, started off slow last year. Got a lot of guys back, Murfreesboro, Dirks, Mineral Springs, Lafayette County, Gurdon, Spring Hill, Foreman. Junction City, Thomas, is the top of this class, obviously.
Yeah. There's tradition and just the amount of athletes they have. And Coach Ball has done a really good job. His first year, he won 4 games, then coming in back-to-back 9-win seasons. And they started out with their non-conference is pretty tough.
Yeah.
They got the the Ouachita County, and then Carlisle, and then lose both those last year right off the bat. And the loss to Carlisle wasn't as close as it even looked the first time. Then they go in and then they use the conference, get better the entire season and play them, and then beat Carlisle again. Pretty much flipped it, 40 by 28 points or something like that.
Daryl, what's your thought in this league here? Junction City, struggled early last year, came on. Do you see any contenders, that's going to really challenge them in this bunch?
Well, they've got skill guys coming back. The thing about what gave them trouble last year early on was they couldn't stop you from throwing it. I mean, you could just rise up and throw it. And I think as the year went better, they got a little bit healthier too as they went on. They're still explosive, man. I mean, they've got 2 guys back over 500 yards rushing. You got to look at them as they know how to get there. But like we were all over them last year, which is teaching me something. All right. I need Junction City to actually show up. All right. That's the biggest thing is I think they got in the playoffs, ran into a hot Conway Christian team, and ended up getting beat there. But, in the playoffs, they beat Cross County in the first round and then turn around and beat the heck out of Carlisle. So they were on a roll there going into it. You just want to see them, like I said, they've won 7 state titles for a reason. And I think this is a big, huge year for them.
And the funny thing is, on the loss to Conway Christian, it was 21-0 with 30 seconds to go in the half. I am leaving to go to another game.
Yeah.
I'm in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then I see Jaron Thomas score. And I don't know if you remember, Conway Christian had 4 comeback wins in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
They were down at halftime every game of the playoffs.
Oh, but it's like Coach Kramer said. Ever going into halftime, they're down 21-0.
Yeah.
He said he didn't know what he was going to say, but the kids just responded,
Yeah.
and they just wanted to know what they needed to do to get better. All right, headed down to 4-2A. Carlisle is dominated them, and Hazen have dominated this league. This Poland bunch is a bunch that a lot of people are talking about. Bearden, of course, Hazen's in there, England, Baptist Prep, Hampton, and Clarendon. Coach Gary Wilson had a phenomenal year again last year at Carlisle, replacing their quarterback, obviously. Let's get into this. I'm going to start with you, Daryl. I mean, you know Carlisle, he feels pretty good, and we're going to interview Coach Wilson here in a second, bring him on, but they always feel good about their defense.
Oh, yes, their defense is pretty good. You set up the edge at end. They've got the Purnell kid coming back. Their defensive line's pretty strong. Linebackers are good. Secondary's got 2 starters back in it. The biggest question is, can you replace the quarterback? Because he was dropping bombs when he was in there. And that's Carlisle. But Carlisle football, once again, traditionally strong in the interior and defense and offensive line. They got 3 starters back at wide receiver, which were all big play guys last year. It's just how can they get them the football, and how many can they get them in space too? That was the biggest thing too. Is Carlisle, they got matchups, especially in the secondary, throwing the football down the field. So they're really interesting to see what happens there. Like I said, they're not going to be surprised by people because they're so well coached. And once again, the turnover battle they win. But they're coming back with 2, 4, 6, 7 all-conference players. That's a good start right there. I can just fill in people right there.
And also, I don't know if you remember, if you saw this too on the stat page. So they averaged 44 points a game, gave up 14.
Yeah.
The next closest on the average points per game is 26. So they're 18 points more than the second place points per game, which is just, that stands out, their offense from last year.
Yeah, they scored 44 points a night.
Yeah.
Wow.
And give up 14.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
thing, though.
yeah.
So they led the conference in points per game and points per game allowed.
Well, let's get into this. Let's go ahead and bring Coach Wilson on right now. Let's bring on the head coach from Carlisle, Coach Gary Wilson.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, the Bisons, are dear to my heart, and we keep up with you guys weekly. Had a phenomenal year last year. Roll all the way there and end up getting beat by Junction City, a team you beat earlier in the year, and in that part of it. Let's get into it. The Hootens has you ranked number 7 overall. You're ranked number 1 in the coaches poll in the 4-2A. You got 6 guys back on offense, 7 guys back on defense. Talk to us a little bit about your team coming back and what you're expecting from the Bisons, because they're always good.
Well, we really like what we got coming back. It's the first group that I've been with, since they were in the 7th grade. So I feel like I know what to expect out of these guys. I know that they're going to show up every day, ready to go to work. I know they're tough kids. I know that they won't back down. They'll get after you. Defensively, they've had now, I guess, 6 years in our system. So they know it about as well as I know it. At least I hope they do. If not, I'm not doing a very good job teaching them. But, we got 4 guys back up front that started games for us last year. And I think that's huge because, we threw the ball well last year, but I thought there were a lot of times where we didn't run the ball nearly as well as we need to win to win the football games that we want to win and get where we want to be. Bring a running back that I think could be a guy that runs anywhere between 15 and 100 and 2,000 yards, given the carries and the opportunity, and that's big, and then we bring back, we lost 3 out of 4 receivers, but the one we bring back, man, he's really good. Kawan Parnell's his name. He's a 6'3", 200-pound kid out wide. He's a tough matchup for anyone. When you know who he is when he gets off the bus, I promise. He looks the part for sure.
Well, we know who he is on this show. I promise you that too.
So, no, I think we've got a good mix of experience and some talented younger kids. And I really like where we're at, chemistry-wise, and not that we had bad chemistry last year, but I feel like we got a group of kids that are really bought in and, that, they're going to do whatever it takes for us to be successful because, I think this program means a lot to those guys.
Well, it does. Let's get into your non-conference a little bit. Same cycle it was last year. I mean, going to Drew Central, then that Junction City game, which will be obviously a game of the week. There's no doubt about it. And which that's an interesting deal. You get them early in the year, and then you catch them in the playoffs, and then obviously Desark, who's a top-notch team in another conference. And we were talking to Coach Powell about those guys a little bit earlier. I mean, you set this up and talk to us about why we talked about this last year, and obviously it worked out. Is why you set that non-conference schedule up and get you prepared for your conference.
Well, I'm going to throw you off a little bit. Drew Central and Junction cycled out, so we actually don't play them.
Oh,
week
okay.
one.
Well, I screwed that all up there.
That's
Who
okay.
we
It happens,
got?
man. So we're going to go down to Lake Village in week 0.
Okay.
So what I've tried to do with non-con is at least one game, try to find somewhere in the state that we wouldn't normally go. We've tried to make our way up to Northwest Arkansas, and we just can't seem to find anybody to match up with. I'm not saying anybody's scared of us or anything like that. I promise. I'm just saying that never worked out.
You're probably calling them. They ain't calling you. I can tell you that.
it just hadn't worked out for us. So we went to the opposite end of the state this year. We'll go down to Lake Village in week 0. And then the very next week, we're going to do something we've never done before. Is here at Carlisle, we're going to play an out-of-state team. So we've got Palmer, Mississippi coming to us the next week, and then we'll take a bye week before Desark, and then we'll have 2 weeks to get ready for those guys. And that's always it's always a tough game for us, and that extra week really helps us prepare for that flex bone that they run because they do it so well.
Yes, they do. Well, let's get into your conference. Poland, you got your conference is loaded as usual. Y'all been kind of the top of that, you and Hayes in the last few years and that part of it. Talk to us a little bit, Beard and some of these teams in there that are on the rise in your conference, and talk to us where your conference you think stands in the state wise.
Well, I think it's improving every year. Our conference is. I'd be hard pressed to talk to you about anybody other than Hazen first. One with it being our rival, and number 2, I got a ton of respect for Coach Basankin and those guys over there. When we played them in week 10 last year, that wasn't the same team that people saw in the earlier weeks. They had some injuries, and they had lost a lot the year before, and they were just trying to kind of figure out who they were, and they figured it out, and they'll be tough. So I know. For us, it's always going to start with Hazen because they've been so successful here recently. I know they'll be good again. Vic and Keith Barrett at Poen, I think, do a great job with their guys. They're always going to be tough kids. They're going to be coached well. There's not going to be a lot of busts. They're not going to give you anything. And they've got a quarterback coming back that's, a 3-year starter for them and knows their systems, a good player. So I know that'll be a tough game. Bearden's improved a lot over the last couple of years. They've got running back. It's a really good player for them. Got a kid that I think they splits a little time between quarterback and the slot that can really go. So I feel like they probably feel pretty good about where they're at, and they're on the rise and they're improving. So I think, those are just off the top of my head right there. Those are 3 tough conference games.
There's no doubt. And then you start talking about state, and y'all are always in the mix. I mean, Thanksgivings you're playing and that part of it, and you're sitting there, EPC's been to the finals. They got a lot of guys back.
We got a lot coming back.
A lot of guys back. Junction City's always in the mix. You guys are in the mix. You brought up Hayes and Mount Ida. They've got, seems like everybody back. Coach White gets that split back veer going, buddy. It's
tough to stop, man.
Tough to stop. And there seems like there's a lot of teams right there. Talk to us where the Carlisle Bison's fit in this hunt. I mean, Hooten's got you ranked 7th overall in preseason. Talk to us a little bit, what it's going to take for you guys to get to War Memorial.
I think, 7 to me is a good spot for us to start. I kind of like it. It gives me a little bit of a, something to play around with as far as motivation for the kids, kind of the underdog mentality. But for us to make the run that we want to make, I know we're going to have to play sound defense. We're going to have to run the football and not beat ourselves because, like you said, man, there's a lot of really good teams in 2A this year. EPC's bringing everybody back. Coach Ball at Junction, they got a lot of guys coming back. Mount Ida, those guys, what they do exceptionally well down there. And then you got a school like Desark. Desark's the same way, man. Tough kids that know the system, that play hard. Cross County's got a lot coming back, so
they might have the best prospect in the state. I think he is. I mean, the big defense.
He's a good one, man, and that's just something that a lot of guys, a lot of schools in 2A they can't we can't simulate that in practice.
No.
I don't have anybody that's 6'5", 320 that I can throw out there to give us a look at. So, with us, we've got to make sure that we're, technique wise, we do a great job with the, the little things, the fundamental things. And we do that every day. We get a little bit better every day. I like our chances in the playoffs, and if we don't, and if we're not making a deep run into November and December, then we're going to be disappointed about how it ended, because, the expectations here are to compete for conference titles and play deep into the playoffs.
Well, it always has been. You've always done that. And notice your sign back there, my bad, gets you beat.
Oh.
Talk to us a little bit about that. If I've said that one time, I've said it 1,000 coaching.
Well,
I think that's pretty cool.
That's Gage Johnson, my O-line coaches. That's his handiwork right there. And I'm sure we saw it on Twitter or we stole it from someone else, but we just thought, that our kids needed to hear it, because just like everyone else, we're dealing with teenage kids, and sometimes what they think is just a small mistake at practice is something that continues to carry over throughout the week, and now it's a habit, and you've said my bad one too many times, and now we got to try to fix it. So we can get that out of your system right now, and that's just one less thing we got to fight on down the road.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, Coach, man, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll be checking your work. We'll, your guys will be in the mix, and I know Coach Fimple's real high on you guys this year, and look forward to watching you guys play and checking your work.
Absolutely. And hey, I appreciate you giving me the chance to come on and talk about our guys and Carlisle football. Anytime I get the chance, I'm very grateful.
Well, thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Oh, you bet. Thank y'all.
You can tell Coach is, feels pretty good about his team, and, replacing the quarterback is some issues there. Talk to us. Just go with Thomas first and come back with you, Daryl. Talk to us a little bit about this Poland bunch. I mean, they're a bunch that everybody keeps bringing up, because, Coach Wilson really got a lot of respect for those guys. What are you seeing in that bunch?
Vic Barrett's son is Colt Barrett.
Yeah,
he is their quarterback. Kind of everything revolves around him. Being a coach's son, the offense. If you can pass the ball well in 2A, you can make a run. I mean, because there's not a lot of defenses that can play the pass, and we've seen it over years. And so I think this team does pass the ball really well.
Daryl, what's your thoughts on Poland and the rest of this bunch?
Well, Colt Barrett, who just committed to UAM, by the way, I think last week. Yeah. And I've actually met Coach Barrett himself this summer. His daughter's a phenomenal player, by the way. Coach Victor, he's probably getting offered a lot of jobs for both of them. But that guy, a great dude, classy guy. You could tell that, he's got football in his blood. And you can also tell that I think that they're at the point now where they're building something pretty special down at Poland. I think that they've got some things going there. Their backfield, like I said, when you have a quarterback that can throw it, this is a big kid too. This kid's like 6'8", 210. I mean, he's a big dude. Could you only imagine him standing out there? I mean, that's amazing. They got some receivers too. Gage Burr's coming back. Got 2 starters on the offensive line, which is always great. They got a nose plug there at the nose position, the Sanchez guy. So I think Poland's going to make some noise. They're my surprise pick overall in this classification. I think they can make some noise, especially if they get into the playoffs.
My first year at Hootens is 21. They were like 6 inches away from winning a state championship.
Yeah.
They lose to McCroy on the goal line, they're driving, they don't get it. There's 4th and goal. No, its time expires, and McCroy ends up winning the state championship. But they had him beat in the semifinals. That was just 3 years ago.
They got a big opener. They got Mount Ida at home to start out with.
Yes,
so we're going to figure.
That's the one thing, and we're going to talk about. Let's
they got Mountain Pine.
Mountain Pine. I'm
Mountain
sorry.
Pine.
I did screw that up. It was
Mountain
Mountain somebody. There's a huge difference there. You good scheduling,
yes.
Barrett.
Well, let's get into this. Let's get into the overall part of it. I mean, and let's hit with Thomas first. I mean, obviously, you guys really are on EPC Mount Ida. How do you seeing this thing unfold? I know matchups and things like that and health and that part, but talk to us a little bit why EPC won and kind of go through it just a little bit.
EPC has been back-to-back state championships and come up short both times and played. Essentially played the generational team from Conway Christian and then Bigelow's greatest team ever. And they've just come up short on those 2 games. And, so I think they've kind of now experienced, the War Memorial. it takes once you get there, I feel like you expect to get there back again. You know, the first time I think they were kind of shell shocked getting there, but they have the talent to do it and the experience playing in those big games. Mount Ida, Coach White's experienced more than anybody in this list here. You know, and the veer that they with the amount of guys they've got coming back, I think it's them. Junction City is just talent alone, and they lost it on the last drive. I mean, they were up in the semis, and so in Cross County, Van Pascal, he knows how to get there, and so I think those four. But really, in 2A, anyone can make a run. I mean, Carlisle, you got a Carlisle, Beard, and Poen. It's whoever is hot at the right moment.
Daryl, what's your thoughts on this 2A and how you crystal ball here in August? What do you think?
You have your favorites, but I think this is a classification like Thomas just said that. I mean, you got Murfreesboro, the Rattlers. They're sitting there. They've been there. They got a new coach and the whole 9 yards, but they're still sitting there. I like the Poen bunch, but if Carlisle figures out their quarterback spot, they got a chance. But you look at Mount Ida, and like you said, you got your whole offensive line back, and those guys aren't just offensive linemen; they're 5 all-conference players. So you're going to be really good up front. Defensively, how do they match up with the team like EPC or even the Junction in that era? Because they're going to see athletes galore, and keeping them off the field is probably the biggest thing Mount Ida can do. But with that offensive line being late, how about their opener though? I mean, we're going to find out real fast about Mount Ida. I mean, you get to go to OBU, Tiger Country. Legendary Hall of Famer Coach Knight gets to watch your kids play. You open up with Junction City there. I mean, that's going to be a huge – and you got to love that. I mean, those two guys got together.
That's the second week. It's week
September 5.
It's not week 0, so you got to –
Yeah, but it'll be their first game, which is a heck of an opener. So.
Yes.
Well, and that's one thing about the 2A guys, and we're going to get in 3A in just a second, is – those guys are playing each other, man, across the board, non-conference. And I mean, as a football fan, you appreciate that. A lot of coaches don't do that, but these guys are crossing over, and checking their work and where they're at and that part of it. Well, let's go ahead and move over to 3A. Obviously, you got defending state champions, Salem back with a lot of guys back, and we're going to break down the conferences. Rivercrest, that's been an interesting thing, and we'll get into that later on. Fordyce, who I think loaded. You got Charleston, Boonville, who I really like. Bismarck's got a lot of guys back. Prescott loses some guys. Mansfield, Rising, Osceola's in your top 10. Obviously, last year, and then I'm going to come to you, Daryl. Obviously, last year, I thought this was probably the most competitive thing up and down. Talk to us a little bit, and we're going to break down conferences and really get into this, deep into this 3A. Talk to us what your overall look is going into this preseason poll.
Well, now, so the 1 and 2 teams both have new coaches.
Yeah.
Salem, so Coach Watson from Salem wins the state championship last year, goes to Ozark, but they promote within from Coach Weber, who is a Hall of Fame coach out of Missouri, who's been there 3 years and kind of the architect of their offense. And they've got everybody coming back. I mean, a lot of guys coming back and a talented group, a great defense. They run the ball well. They're physical. Rivercrest, Coach Fleming just decides to step down yesterday, and so, but they've got a lot of guys, talent. Buda Harris is one of my favorite guys to watch play both sides of the ball. Fordyce has one of 2 freshman quarterbacks that made All-State. So there's only 2 All-State freshman players last year, and Cadillac Elson, their quarterback, was one of them. Gets hurt in the semis and doesn't play, or he may have been hurt before then, right, the game before, but they lose to Bismarck. Bismarck goes to play the state championship. Then you got Charleston, who I think is just a little above everybody in that conference, but that's the 1-3A is the most competitive conference. I say that most competitive. The 3-3 is really,
they're all.
So, and this class, you could, any of these teams in the top 10 could easily win the state championship. I mean, they're that talented.
And I agree with you 100%. Daryl, talk to me a little bit about this 3-8. I mean, any of these 10, maybe 11.
15 or 12, yeah.
It was like,
talk to us a little bit. What do you see in the
like
3A?
last year. I mean, last year it was just like every week was somebody moving somewhere and trying to pick somebody was extremely difficult. because you've got teams that are actually playing each other in the conference that are so much alike. I mean, there's like such a difference between Rivercrest and Osceola, or Newport and Osceola, and then you've got Boonville and Mansfield and Charleston. Those guys they're so much alike in their schemes and how well they're coached and their whole 9 yards. And then the talent is pretty much equal in a lot of those games. You don't see a lot of that happening across classifications, but man, 3A, it seems like everybody's got a chance. I mean, it's pretty. I mean, Mansfield still got the Burton boys all back. I mean, Boonville. You know what Boonville's going to do? They're just going to plug people in. They're really excited about their new quarterback, and Charleston's got a quarterback coming back that threw for a ton of yards last year, and can they stop anybody defensively? I mean, it's just and Salem does what Salem does. I mean, when the grass turns colors at Salem, all right, you're in trouble. Okay, that's when it's trouble there at Salem. I mean, we watch those guys all year. Might be the best telecast, man. I love that. I love some 3A football telecasts. Yeah. Those guys are awesome up there. And Fordyce is loaded again. They got the quarterback coming back, off injury and getting to play. And, Bismarck had that magical run. I don't think they're going away either. And then we don't even talk about Prescott. Coach Class is down there. He's fired up,
How are we not talking about Prescott?
I heard he's got the best, number 2 deep snapper in the state of Arkansas. Nobody knows about down there at Prescott. My man Glass is going to have them ready to go. I mean, just tradition alone. And Osceola, golly. I mean, it's hard to pick them.
We hadn't even mentioned Newport.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like there's too many of them to mention that have a chance.
You remember Osceola was picked 4th last year by the coaches in the conference. They win the conference.
Yeah.
This year, the funniest thing in the world is Rivercrest was picked 4th by the coaches, and we got a number 2.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if we're wrong or they're wrong or who, but I mean, it's the most competitive class by far.
There's no doubt. Let's jump into it. Let's go that 1-3A up here in Western Arkansas. You got Boonville, Mansfield, Charleston. The coaches poll picked Boonville. You've got Charleston ranked high. Mansfield's there. Lavaca, Greenland, West Fork, and Hackett and that bunch. Talk to us, Daryl. Let's hit with you. You really like this league. This is one of your favorites. Man, it looks like 3-team race here a little bit, and just like it was last year.
Well, I mean, you got Boonville, who's returning Hunter Warren at running back, over 1,500 yards last year and 27 touchdowns. Once again, somebody's career, which would have been a great one. Boonville also only gave up 15 points on defense last year, and they're returning, 4 offensive linemen from last year that were all conference. They're returning 2 all-state players in Warren and Seth Wilson, their linebacker. They're really strong up front. And once again, offensive line play, man, Boonville will thrash. I mean, they would just mash people. I remember their right tackle last year. It was just mauling people. Experienced leader. They're really excited about their new quarterback. Even though he's a smaller guy, he's not real big. But once again, they just got a system in place there that they can overcome a lot of stuff. And I think defensively, they might be better this year. Because of that, being able to play both, and they can lean on their offensive line, and them, they can cut possessions down. I mean, there might be you play Boonville this year, you might only get 4 chances to score, 1 a quarter. So they're really interested to watch too. Charleston returns Carter Little at quarterback, threw for over 3,300 yards last year and 42 touchdowns. Defensively, can they hold up in that league? Because you go 3 and out in that league, you're in trouble. I mean, like I said, you're not going to get a lot of possessions there. They return their leading receiver too, over 1,000 yards, the Gano kid. But like I said, Mansfield's still in that league too. Mansfield's going to give them a shot too. They've got the Burton boys back. They're physical too. They showed that all of last year too. They're returning, 6 all-conference players and 3 all-state players. So they're ready to go too. And like I said, that's one of those conferences. If you can get out of it, you match up real well with the other side and so forth. But, it's still the same customers here in this league. All right. We don't have anybody. We don't have, Hackett's not pulling off miracles this year. Okay. We got Boonville and Mansfield in this thing. And you got Charleston in that sucker too, which, I kind of like them just because they have a quarterback that's been a 3-year starter, that's coming back. I guess Levac is probably the pick that might be somebody that can make some noise and get in. But no, I think that's really it's a 2-horse race, and I think Charleston can.
It's 3. It's
you
3.
think Charleston's going to be the third one?
No, I think they're going to be the first.
Oh, look at that! That guy. You know why?
I think
they got them ranked higher than everybody.
I think
Thrash likes that guy because he's going to throw it. I mean, they're going to throw it.
That's true.
I mean,
they put up 45 on Boonville last year, and then they gave up 48. But I think their defense is going to be better. I think the whole conference revolves around Carter Little.
I like how you said it. They gave up 48. So, like, they give up 42. It's better. Come on, Thrash.
Hey, no, I'm saying their defense is going to be a little better. Boonville hasn't stopped them, is what I'm saying.
Well, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and cut to the chase. Let's bring on head coach from Charleston, Ricky.
Let's go. Let's
bring him on again. Let's get his stuff.
Thank you, Jeff. It's good to be here.
Well, let's look at it. Looking at the Hootens book right there, they got you guys ranked number 4 overall in the state going into this season. The coaches polls got you ranked 3rd in your conference in the 1-3A. Which your conference, has been loaded. Mansfield had a great year last year.
Yes,
Everybody
sir.
knows Boonville. You guys, I mean, it's at conference. It's very, very competitive, and had good runs last year. Let's get into it. You've got 9 guys back on offense, 8 guys back on defense. So we got a lot of returning guys back. Talk to us a little bit about your football team and going into this season.
Well, we have a real big senior class. I think there's 19 or 20 of them,
Wow.
which is big for a 3A school. It's been a really good group. They just haven't learned how to, in that tight game, win it. We lost 4 games last year by a total of 10 points.
Yeah.
And it was tough. If we could have had a couple of those go the other way, obviously we'd have been sitting a lot better. But, went down to Osceola in the second round of playoffs and we turned it over like crazy. I've never been a part of something like that. We were down 28-0 at the end of the first half. We had a pick 6. We had fumbled 2 kickoffs. I think Osceola had maybe 100 yards of offense and 28 points.
Wow.
And it was just tough. We had to scoop and score on a fumble. And so, that's kind of left a bad taste in our kids' mouths that we didn't perform better. And so hopefully, they remember that week 1.
Well, let's get into it a little bit. I mean, let's start with your non-conference. I mean, you got Pottsville, got to go to Ozark, and then you got Heavener, Oklahoma. You set that schedule out. But you and Ozark have played. They got a new coach, and y'all played for 100 years. Talk to us a little bit about your non-con, about how setting that up and getting you ready for the Boonvilles and the Mansfields of the world.
Well, yes, sir. There's a couple times that we've actually started 0-3 in non-conference and finished 7-3. We set that up because we want to play people. We don't waste our time. And Pottsville, they kicked field goal last year and beat us. Ozark, I had that gut feeling, coach. You know how it is. We were up 7, and I felt like I should go for 2. We got Ozark to jump on our extra point, and man, my gut was telling me to go for it. And my assistants, talked some sense into me. Hey, the card says this. And I knew, if we made the extra point, we're up 8, we can't get beat. Yeah. And I'll be doggone if we didn't miss the extra point. And, and I've had to live with that for a year.
Hey, I've been a part of many of those. Don't feel bad about it. It happens.
And then we get in the Mansfield game and give up an opening kickoff right off the bat, have a turnover, 1 turnover. They didn't have any. We get in the Boonville game, same thing. They beat us by 3 in a shootout. We had 1 turnover down by the goal line going in. We're about the 9, turn the ball over. They didn't turn it over, and that's what happens when you play good people. Break here and break there and can cost you, and that's what happened.
Well, let's get into your conference a little bit. Mansfield had a great run last year. Boonville's there. There's just traditional powers. I mean, you throw a Charleston and a Boonville, people's eyes open, and just the respect part of it. Mansfield's coming into this thing, got a lot of guys back also. Talk to me about this league and how tough it is. It's not just those you 3. There's others involved, but talk to us. I mean, you've got, I'm sitting here looking, week 5, you got Mansfield, and week 9 you got Booneville, and I mean the league's really tough.
Yes, sir. Obviously in 22, us and Booneville both played in the state championship game. The year later, Booneville wins it. Mansfield goes to the quarterfinals and then goes to the semifinals last year. Booneville's in the quarterfinals, and so, man, it's tough. Just like I said before, a break here and a break there in those games can make you or break you. I know, and in our conference too, we've got 2 or 3 in there that if you're looking forward to one of those 2 games that can beat you.
Yeah.
We were talking about it the other day in 22 when we were really good. Our closest conference game was West Fork. We went up there and it was cold and sloppy and we turned the ball over and just looked terrible, And so any night, man, anybody can beat you, so we're fortunate though, because that does get you ready for the playoffs. Seeing those 2 teams, and everybody says Booneville and Mansfield run the same offense, and they line up the same, but they're not the same offense. And so that is the beauty of our conference. It gets you ready.
Well, it does. I mean, the big physical play, especially in the trenches. I mean, the big tackles Booneville has, and Mansfield, you guys, the trenches, and,
yes,
and there's great skilled guys, but the trenches, and we always talk about if you want to be playing late, you better be good up front. I mean, that's the way it always
100%.
works and everything. Well, let's get into this 3A deal. I mean, watching it last year probably the funnest classification to watch, just because. There's all kinds of great teams. We just named in your conference. You guys, Booneville, Mansfield, throw Osceola, Rivercrest out there, Salem's, coming off a state championship, Bismarck's got a bunch of people back. This thing's wide open again, and and who can stay healthy in that part of it. What's it going to take for you guys to get to War Memorial?
Well, our conference, the way it's set up, we need to win the conference.
Yeah.
We get a bye there, and then I think we're on the very top of the bracket, so we be at home all the way through. So winning the conference will be a big thing. That's our first goal, is to win the conference, and I'm sure that's Booneville's and Mansfield and everybody in our conference goal. And like you said, staying healthy is a key. We've had years where we've been really healthy going in, and we've had years where we've been so banged up. We knew it would take an act of God to win it. And so trying to get that 1 seed is big.
Yeah, it is huge. Talk to, before I get you off here, kind of interesting is, the bigger divisions, they automatically get buys. Not every conference gets a buy. Especially, and people don't realize this, is how long y'all season is to win one, to get
5 weeks of the playoffs.
I mean, that's hey, buddy, I never had to do that, and I didn't want any part of it. After about 4, we were done. So tell me how big getting that 1 seed and that bye. I mean, that could be a significant factor in getting there.
Yes, sir. Especially if you're banged up.
Yeah.
Get you a week to recoup right there at the end of the season. Kind of let you get focused again on what your major goal is. And, we haven't particularly done well on buys. When I was at Booneville, we would have a bye, and it seemed like every time we had a bye, we'd lose. And we've had 2 since I've been at Charleston, and lost the second week in both of them. So if we can win the conference, I'm going to call you and find out what you do during bye weeks. And or somebody get some help, figure something else out other than what we've been doing. But I feel like it is a good opportunity if we can get that seed to do some good things. But it comes down to the fact you got to beat everybody to be the man. And like I said, I think the good thing about our conference is we can not win the conference and still be ready. Mansfield's a good case of that. They were the 3 seed not last year, but the year before, and went down to Salem and beat them, and come back and end up getting beat by Prescott in a semifinals. And and then in 22, Booneville went on the road for I guess 4 weeks, long trips, and end up state championship game. So it could happen.
Yeah.
But man, there's a lot of good schools in 3A. I was telling Thomas Thrash last year with Hootens, I don't remember where Bismarck started, but I told him, I said, that'll be the team that'll be under the radar for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you right now, they're pretty sneaking good. And them jokers end up being in Memorial. So.
And they did. They just kept rolling all year long, keeping up with them, stayed healthy in that part.
Yeah.
Of it. Well, Coach, man, we appreciate you coming on. Obviously, you got a lot of big games. You'll be a lot of top 10 games a week this year, and we'll have you on again. Appreciate you taking time with us.
Thank you, brother. You have a good day.
All right. See you, Ricky. Well, as you can see, Coach May feels pretty good about it, obviously. And then, the conference and I'm with you. I think it's a 3-horse race. I think, I like Booneville. I like Booneville's offensive line, and they got 2 monstrous tackles. Coach Overton and Mansfield, they've jumped the hurdle mentally and that part of it last year. And I think that's going to be a very interesting conference to
until Mansfield puts Billy in the Hall of Fame up there. The curse.
We got to get Coach
curses,
Elmore in the Hall
these
of Fame.
Curses, we keep trying to tell these people about the curses, man. For God's sakes, we put the guy in the Hall of Fame.
I know. We got to get Coach Elmore.
Is it that hard to get in the Mansfield Hall of Fame? I mean, I don't know.
It must be.
I mean, Booneville Hall of Fame's a little difficult. I mean, I could imagine Mansfield. Come on.
Well, they aren't just letting anybody in there.
They're just not
it's a hellacious criteria there to get in the Mansfield Hall of Fame.
All right, let's move over to the 2-3A. Salem. I mean, they got everybody back and just were unbelievable. I don't think they drop off a lot. The new coach has been running like Thomas Hitz, Hall of Fame coach, offensively did some amazing things. Mayflower last year, they got some players. Atkins made a little run in that part of it. But Thomas, what do you see in this league? I see
Salem. Yeah, but Quitman's going to be better.
Yeah.
Atkins, I really like Atkins. Mayflower always has talent. Mm-hmm. And they're going to you look at Salem's schedule here: Pocahontas, Prescott, and then Newport. Can they get through that? Because you're playing up in a category of Pocahontas, who's always physical, and that's probably they're not that far apart, and that's probably a great game to go to. Then you go to Prescott, which is at War Memorial, and that's the September 5th. Then Newport, so they're seeing the speed of the South. Newport is one of those teams that has the speed of the South Arkansas teams. So they're getting their schedule's made for them to make a run in the playoffs.
Well, I think so. I think they started off 1-2 last
year.
Yeah, crazy like that. Daryl, what do you is it Salem, or do you say dark horse?
I think Mayflower could challenge in this one, but I don't think anybody beats Salem. By the way, listen to this stat. This is awesome. This is.
I think they're going to slip up one game.
This is unbelievable, though. The Greyhounds have averaged over 4,000 yards rushing first season. Including last season, they played 15 games, had 4,900 yards rushing, all right, and 66 touchdowns. For God's sakes, hey, and here's the funny thing about all this. Everybody knows that. I mean, it's not like, hey, we don't know
they're not passing
doing.
The ball.
Yeah, like, hey, we don't know. They're trying to sneak 13 people in the box, and it's still happening. It's still happening there. I mean, that's unbelievable to me. Caden Brink, returns. I mean, it's a 1,500-yard rusher, 19 touchdowns last year. I mean, the quarterback returns. Like we said, their offensive and defensive line, they're returning 4 starters on the offensive line. I'm just like going, if I'm the new guy that just took over, the Hall of Fame guy from Missouri, I'm going, man, great move, coach. Way to leave, man. Give me a shot at this thing. I mean, Salem, it's a machine, man. Like I said, when the grass turns, whoo, man, it's a whole different level. Because I kept thinking when the grass turned,
they lost to Atkins last year, mid-season. They've got to make sure they don't have a slip up like that, because there's some teams like Atkins, Mayflower, Equipment that can beat them.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's move over to God's country. 3-3A, our favorite league over there. I've been talking to people all summer over there, man. I mean, it's been the people over in God's country. They're fired up. Let's just start off with probably the breaking news, and Coach Fleming at Rivercrest, who y'all got ranked preseason number 2, 4th in the coaches poll, takes off and they replace him with Coach Harden, who's been the offensive coordinator. Big shakeup there. Coach Fleming's been there for a long time. Osceola, Newport, Daryl, talk about your boys over there at Rivercrest a little bit, with the coaching change here so late.
Well, that's the thing. But the good thing is they've always been there. That's the plus sign of that. Losing coaches is probably, that's tough, especially this time of the year. Of course, they've all already made some changes there. Moving Jaden Young to quarterback, I think, is phenomenal. That guy averaged almost 50 yards a kickoff return. I think he's kind of explosive enough. You got Buddha back on the outside. Those guys playing both ways. It's the biggest thing about them is, can they establish the run, early on? That's what they had problems with. They couldn't stop it last year. The Osceola just pounding them inside. This league is one of those leagues too. I mean, they're going to beat each other up. I mean, Walnut Ridge is in this league. I mean, there's no gimme in this league at all. And man, there's probably nothing like Friday nights in this league because, I don't think these people really like each other in this league.
No,
I think we might be cordial a little bit, hey, yeah, good luck here. But I'm pretty sure that they don't really like each other, especially on Friday nights.
Well, and Hooks at Osceola is a former Rivercrest, great, so it's kind of crazy how they're all intertwined together.
Yeah, well, and you keep forgetting about Newport. I mean, Newport's back.
Yeah.
I mean, they got Luke Reynolds back, the quarterback. I mean, this is a league that, they got a lot of returning skill guys, especially back. And once again, it's one of those leagues that, you got to figure out how good you're going to be in the trenches, because that's everybody in this league's got skill people. Big play guys.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
true.
people you do not punt to. I mean, there's people that you kick it.
And we talked to people about that during the year. Don't
Yeah,
kick
why do
that
you
guy.
keep kicking?
I watched a Rivercrest Newport kickoff, return for a touchdown. Then Newport kicks off to Rivercrest. They return for a touchdown. Then Rivercrest kicks off again. There was 3 in a row. Right off the bat, I'm like, what are you doing, guys? Stop kicking.
Don't kick that guy. Well, let's go ahead and do this. Let's bring on the head coach from Osceola, Coach Robert Hooks.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's get into it real quick. Hooten's got you ranked 10th overall in the Hootens poll, preseason poll. You're ranked at number 1 in the 3-3A in the coaches poll. You got 4 guys back on offense, 4 guys back on defense. Talk to me a little bit about your football team.
I think we have a pretty good football team. We're starting to Daryl right now. Team campus has really helped us grow up a lot. I think that if we could grow our linemen up, we got 1 returning lineman. Coach, quarterback's back, got 3 receivers who are back, and got a couple move-ins that I think are going to help us grow up really fast. I think by week 3, week 4, we should be gelling and be a pretty good football team. One thing that we have that a lot of 3A schools don't have, we have a kicker who could really be a true weapon this year. And of course, we're not as strong as we were in the middle, offensively or defensively. Of course, losing Jeremiah Jacobs and Harris Mann and Kevin Love, Carlos Vance, Donovan Littleton. We lose those 4 guys up front. So, of course, it's going to be a little difficult. And also losing Demarius Hackett inside at linebacker. But we feel we have some young guys who could really, really. You can't replace those guys, but I think we're going to play with a motor and play physical football, Osceola football.
Well, let's get into it. Coach Gray, Butch Gray, your defense coordinator last year, comes in, just shakes it up, has number 1 defense in the conference, and in that part of it. But let's get into this non-conference schedule. I just checked this out here, man. We got Little Rock Mills at Mills, who I think is going to make a long run in 5A to a possible state championship. In 4A, and then you got you're going at Blytheville, Rod Stinson's there. Rod's going to do a good job. Then you got, another rival with Gosnell. And then I'm sitting there, I'm laughing, looking at your conference, which we're going to get into. Week 4, Hoxie. Week 5, Walnut Ridge. Week 6, Newport. Week 7, Rivercrest. My God, sign me up for that. We got the Bears, Packers, and the Giants you got to play, man. Talk to us a little bit about your non-conference, how that's going to get you ready for those guys later on.
Always, we try to play a really, really strong competition early. And so, doing the conference, that it really helps you finish games, I think. Your kids learn a lot about themselves early. Us as coaches make the corrections and that we need to make, and hope that our guys could execute on down the line. And again, just experience is the biggest teacher. So we wanted to play a good ball team, and we may have bit off more than we could chew with Little Rock Mills. I've heard nothing but good things about them.
They got
Quarterback Eli Moody is really good at the line is good, and of course they always have skilled guys who can make plays offensively, and they're gonna man you up, man free, and really, really good at playing man technique. So, it's just up to us as coaches to get our guys in the best position, and we're excited about the game. I think our kids are up for the challenge, and hey, no pressure.
Yeah. Well, let's get into your conference a little bit. Last year your conference was one of the funnest conference. You still there, Robert? Yeah, I lost him. Yeah, there. There you go. You're back here. We'll edit you there. I got you. I can see you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good now. Okay. Let's get about it. I can edit all this stuff. Talk to us a little about your conference. Like, it was one of the funnest ones to watch last year. I mean, from top to bottom. I mean, Newport, Rivercrest, Hoxie, Walnut Ridge. Where does this conference fall in the state? I mean, do you think it's the toughest conference in the state? I mean, and you've been around a little bit.
About 9 to 10 teams who could play for a state title this year in 3A.
No doubt. I mean, we were talking about it. I had some other coaches on there, Prescott, Bismarck. I mean, y'all got a piece of Bismarck here in the semifinals last year, and
Yes.
Salem's got a bunch of guys back off the state championship team. Fordyce is another one.
Charleston, very, very young, good team.
Yeah, Mansfield, Booneville. Where do y'all fall in that deal? Where do you think, if you got a crystal ball? I mean, obviously, if you stay healthy, you're going to be in the mix. But not putting you on the spot there, but where do you fall in that? I mean, what do you got to do to get to War Memorial? You know how to get there.
Again, if we stay healthy and our young offensive line comes on like I think we can and we are, I expect to play and win the state title.
Yeah.
That's the overall goal, and that's the standard, and our kids are working toward that every morning. And we, like I say, we progress each team camp. The thing that we have to get better at is from the whistle to the snap. From the snap to the whistle, we have what it takes, but just processing everything and then being really, really good football players, having football IQ is where we're going to have to grow up at. And I see us progressing.
I got you. Well, Robert, I'll get you off here, man. We'll be checking work. You got all kinds of games of the week this year. I mean, good gracious alive, man. I can't wait, man. We'll be talking to you a bunch this year, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, taking time with us, and we'll be checking your work as always, man.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, Jeff.
All right, buddy. Thanks, Robert. Well, you can see Coach Hooks is, feels pretty good, worried about it interior-wise. But Daryl, I'm going to come back to you again. How do you see this league shaking up a little bit?
Well, you've got Osceola. I still think that Osceola is probably good, a little bit ahead of everybody because they got their quarterback back. It's already set in position there. And then it's Osceola, for goodness sakes. They got that big, huge Seminole blow-up guy, too. I mean, how many leagues got that guy? That guy's like 40 foot tall, man. And they keep him blown up the whole game. They run out, they keep him blown up.
They do.
And that guy's ready to go all the time. I mean, that's the most intimidating thing I think I've ever seen. Big, giant Seminole down there in the end zone. I mean, God bless America. That's kind of scary. But Tyler Bell's back at quarterback. He kind of makes things go there. You know, their defensive line has the Spencer kid that's returning. Offensive line, they got the Cook kid. You know, they'll lean on you too. They don't have to, you know, they're not afraid to establish an 8-play drive in that league, but a lot of that league is a 1-play drive because it's so explosive. I also like Newport. And, you know, Newport is always scary there, you know, because they're going to be able to run the football too. They're pretty disciplined too. They got a quarterback that's coming back too. I think quarterback play is huge and all the things that you do. That's why my Rivercrest Colts, I don't know what we're getting here. I don't know if we're ready for this or not. You know, coaching change late.
Oh, we're ready.
All that good stuff. Walnut Ridge, you know, they returned their quarterback too. I mean, it's an amazing league. Like I said, night in, night out. But I'm going to go with Osceola early on in this one because that giant Seminole guy.
So you sound like the coaches in that conference.
Yeah.
You know, they voted Rivercrest 4th in the conference. We rechecked that 10 times.
Yeah.
Because we have Rivercrest number 2 in the state.
Yeah.
And so we're like, somebody's wrong.
Well, talk to us. You hit these two teams, Walnut Ridge and Hoxie, and you know everybody is always Osceola, Rivercrest, Newport. Walnut Ridge has been in the mix. Here
Yeah.
the last
Yeah.
years,
And then
Coach
Hoxie, Coach Sears Hoxie, he's
unbelievable.
Yeah, for the 25 years, he's had a couple down seasons back to back recently, but traditionally he's going to have those guys ready. And so you're going to see 5 teams that are competing night in, night out.
Well, Hoxie returned 6 on both sides. They got 6 starters.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or
They
bad.
may be like the Mount Ida, you know, like the last couple of years they were playing a bunch of sophomores, and then now these guys have stepped up and ready.
All right, let's move over to the 4-3A. Let's and I'm gonna go with you, Thomas, Glen Rose, Paris, Jesseville, Magnet Cove. Coach Keener over there at the Glen Rose has done a good job taking over the last couple of years. Talk to us a little bit about this league. Coach Weaver's really building that Paris program. Talk to us a little bit about this league, kind of unknown a little bit in this 4-3A, and what do you think, what kind of run any of these guys can make?
You know, I think this is a Glen Rose. Glen Rose is to lose, I think. You know, then you got Paris, Coach Weaver. How long's he been there? You know, his first year after leaving Little Rock Christian, he won 11 games and 10 games. And so Jesseville, Perryville lost quite a bit last year. They had a really good team, a lot of seniors. You know, I still look. This is probably Glen Rose's, and I don't know how many teams are gonna be able to challenge them on that. You know, last year they made it the playoffs, but didn't have the typical Glen Rose type of a season. But I think if they stay healthy, they can.
Well, Daryl, I'm gonna come to you with this. He just talked about Glen Rose pretty much dominated the league, didn't make a run. Does that hurt them going in? We talk about this all the time, as you know, playoffs things in your league and getting the right matchups. Glen Rose is dominated. Coach Weaver at Paris, you know, we know he can coach. Talk to us a little bit what you see about this league.
I think Glen Rose is, you know, their non-conference is probably going to help them more than anything in this, getting ready for the season. They are smart enough to do that. But, you know, they're returning Hood at quarterback. They got to play Macker and Paxton. Their offense and defensive line, but they're returning 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 all-conference players. So I think it's I don't think you can screw that up.
And 3 All-State or 2 All-State.
2 All-State guys are back. They got 9 starters on defense and 9 starters on offense back. I mean, they're replacing literally 4 spots. So I think Glen Rose is set to run through this conference pretty easily. It's one of those things that they're kind of used to. I think, getting in the playoffs and keeping momentum, making sure everybody's healthy, that's a big thing in this. And, Paris is willing to throw the football a little bit here in this league. So you can think Paris might be the one that kind of challenges them a little bit. But I think it's Glen Rose's to lose in this league.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, 7-3A. This was the team last year, went all the way to the finals. You got Bismarck, and then our guy, Coach Glass. And before before we get in this, let's go ahead and get to it. Let's go ahead and bring Coach Glass on, head coach at Prescott.
To just have one back, and that's Mario Brownlee, at junior linebacker. He's going to be a good one. Chance to be one of the better ones we've had here at Prescott. His first cousin, Jacoby Nolan, was a dandy and a good quarterback as well. Went and started at OBU as a freshman. So he's got the linebacker blood in him, and his grandpa was a state champion back in the early 70s for us. So Mario's kind of anchoring that defense. We feel pretty good about it. Brian Woodley at defensive ends, Ryan Zachary, two junior defensive ends, are going to get the nod starting. We've got good depth there with Zyke Sorrells and Jacob Carlton. They're both seniors. The interior, we're looking at Rodquez McKinney and Blaine McCamey. They also got Jamarion Yates and D'Angelo Block. Got some good depth on the D line, which is always a good thing. Also, only Woodley's playing offensive line as well, so that's all something we always shoot for as well. Joining Mario there at linebacker, we've got Alex Munoz is playing the mic. He's a junior, and then we've got Javion Dixon at that other outside backer. He's a senior. He's got good speed. Alex is physical. And then, of course, KJ Page, he'd be a 3-year starter there. He's also our tailback. When we do some 3-4 stuff, get that extra backer in there, KJ can come in there and bring a lot of experience with him. Caden Gleason's going to play there, junior. Senior Justin Culp is back with us this year. He's going to get some playing time there. So we feel pretty good about that linebacker core, too. Defensive backfield is not as deep as we've been. My son, Owen Glass, he's a junior, is back there at safety. He's had a pretty good summer. He gets us in our checks. Sean Tribbitt played a lot. He started several games last year when Levante Gleason was hurt with a ankle sprain early in the year. So Sean brings some speed back there and some athleticism and some experience. Got Keymon Benton. His brother Richard Benton was a 2-year starter out there. So Keymon, he knows what we're doing. He does a good job. He's also a junior. And then over at the other corner, we've got a senior Wes Rash. Also, we've got a sophomore repping over at Travion Evans has done a good job. Couple sophomore D-backs, Talon Helmick and Braylon Coulter give us a little bit of depth back there. So we're, defensively, we've looked pretty sharp. We had team camp today, and I didn't think it was quite as sharp as last Thursday. But we got after it. We're fast. We get to the ball quick. Don't have a lot of big 6'4" guys over there. Woodley, he looks the part a little bit. He's about 6'3", but we're not as big, but we're quick, and we're not little either. They're just some 220 pounders and 215, 230. We've got a little bit of size over there as well, but guys are real high football IQ, man. That goes a long way. And then over on the offensive side, we've got a new man in charge. Prater went on to Tulsa last year as a D-back. He was our quarterback, and he was a 3-year guy back there in the secondary. Dwayne White went to Coastal Carolina, so that was the first year we've ever produced 2 Division I guys in the history of the school, something we're super proud of. But they leave big shoes to fill. We've got Dalton Stockton taking the snaps. He's a senior at quarterback right now. He's been solid. Rhett Cornish is the junior, and Talon Helmick's the sophomore. Those guys are capable as well. We got Prater's little brother's a freshman, and he's looked real good in the junior high stuff too. So we've got him coming up next year. So, and maybe at the end of this year could do a little bit to help, give a little bit different look or something. Tailback KJ Page, he's as experienced as they get. He had about 700 yards last year I believe it was 686 on 72 carries. We spread it around a lot, so he didn't have to tote a huge load, but very effective. Nearly 10 yards. He's 8 or 9 yards a carry. We got some depth there. Caden Gleason, our junior, and then Javion Dixon, that linebacker. He can help us there as well. Mario Brownlee gives us a physical presence there, and also some fullback. Munoz plays fullback. Culp. All those linebackers are also fullbacks, and then of course Gleason's a linebacker, but he's a tailback. Mario can play either, and then out there at receiver we got Owen Glass at flanker. He runs good routes, catches the ball. We got a couple game breakers out on the edges. Our X replacing Dwayne White is Roderick McKinney. He's actually fastest guy on the team. He went 11-2 last year in the 100-meter dash, so he can go. We got a Mario Monk out there at the other side at the wide receiver spot. Wes Cornelius behind him. Monk's about 11'5", 11'6" guy. In that other slot, we can go Sean Tribbett, Rhett Cornish, the backup quarterback, plays over there some. And then we got Coulter and Helmet. Those sophomores can do it. Trey Evans as well. So we got a little bit of depth working on a lot of youth, a lot of young depth. You've heard me say juniors a lot. We've got a really stout junior class. They were 10-0 back in their junior in the ninth grade in the junior high program. Up front, it's kind of a little. This is where we do have a little bit of experience other than KJ. We got left tackle Luther Williams back. He's about 250, about 6 foot 250, and then left guard. He's probably our most talented kid. He's about 5'11", 270, 280 maybe right now. He'll probably trim down a little more in this summer. But that's Zayden Carter. Man, he's got good feet for a big man. He gets around, pulls, he blocks down. He can reach somebody on the outside zone. Does a great job pass pro. Our center's back, Keaton Marler. So those three from the center to the left, all three are back, all seniors. So we got a little experience there. Jake Fricks, another big body, about 220, junior at right guard. And then right tackle's Brian Woodley. He's about 6'2" and a half, 230. That defensive end, he can go. Will Avery, another junior. He's going to step in there for Brian a lot. Hope might even can start there to let Woodley, kind of platoon that offensive and defensive line. They got some young guys that can play too. They look real good today in team camp. And we've got a kicker back, David Rabadon. He played as a sophomore. He's back this year. He does a great job on PATs. Long snapper, Wes Harper's back. He was our junior high guy last year, and then our short snapper, Broden Richardson. So we kind of got all that covered. Our punter's back, Rhett Cornish. So a little bit of experience in the kicking game. A couple of holders back that did a good job. Stockton, Glass can both do it, and Rhett Cornish can do it. So we feel pretty good right now, Jeff. Being ranked 7th is that's on tradition. It's the lowest we've been ranked in a long time preseason. We don't mind it at all. We're actually going to be an underdog in the second game of the year when we play number 1 Salem, and we're okay with that. We got them last year in a barn burner. We knew they were going to be good. We beat them early in the year, and then they ended our season at Salem 4 hours away with a Hail Mary on the last play of the game, beat us 16-10. We felt like we should have got out of there with a win, and they were the state champs. And then Bismarck beat us for the district title, a game in which we dominated, but the scoreboard showed different, and we barely lost that one. I think it was 32-29 or 28 maybe, and and they were in the finals with Salem. So the 2 losses we had were 2 very, very close games, including a victory over one of them. And that was the state finals. So we do feel like we were as good as either one of them, and it could have easily been us, but it just wasn't. The luck of the draw, we had to go to Salem in the second round, and they were one of the few teams that could have probably ended our season, and they did. And it was all they could do to do it, though. But they did.
And it was a crazy game, phenomenal game. Let's get into your non-conference. You hit it a little bit. I mean, you're sitting there, you open up with Crossit, and then, like you said, you're going to play Salem and Moore Memorial Stadium.
No, Jeff, that was going to be at Arkansas Tech now.
Okay, they're going to move it to Tech. Okay,
yeah, we had to change locations on it.
Okay, well, good deal. And then you got Hope, which traditionally y'all played for years. Let's get into your conference. I mean, this 7-3A that looks as tough as it's ever been. Bismarck coming off a state final appearance. You guys are traditionally always great. You got Smacko, Camden, Harney Grove's there. Talk to us about your conference and where you think it is in the state.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a tough 3A conference for sure. Those first 3 you said have been, talented over the years, and Camden Harmony Grove's got their quarterback back. He's one of the best athletes in the conference. Smackover, that big quarterback that moved in there last year from El Dorado, he's probably got the strongest arm in 3A, maybe more than that. He's a college arm guy. He's got some big receivers to throw it to, from what I've heard as well. They've got like 9 and 9 back. They were real good on offense last year. Defensive line was probably their weakness last year, but a bunch of them are back. They're going to be bigger, faster, and stronger and better. They could score on anybody, averaged over 30 a game. And but their defense, was definitely something they need to work on, and I guarantee it's going to be better. Then you got Bismarck. They lost some linemen. They're going to be a little bit young up front, but their junior high was one of the best junior highs you'd ever see with a huge line. Those guys are going to be sophomores, and I guarantee, probably 3 or 4 of them are going to play a lot. But their skill guys is what's going to separate them. They've got Keithley back, one of the fastest guys in the conference. He had nearly 2,000 yards. May I had 2,000 all-purpose yards last year. The quarterback, backup quarterback that backed up the other Keithley, is back. He's a Hughes. Which Hughes? I believe that's Preston Hughes. Ethan Hughes is the other receiver. I could have that backwards, but I think that's right. Both those Hughes boys are just outstanding guys. They got the big fullback that was their junior high running back last year. He actually started against us in the varsity game. He moved up from ninth grade last year, so he played us in junior high on Thursday, and then turned around and played senior high on Friday. And he's a load. He's a 220 or 30-pound guy. They're going to be a handful. They're in our 7-on-7 league down here, and they're undefeated. They're 5-0 right now, including they beat us. We had them 16-0, but they came back and beat us. And their skill guys, they're elite. They are.
Yeah.
It's going to be a challenge for anybody to beat them, but we do feel like we gained on them up front a little bit, and it's going to be an exciting season. And then, of course, we open with the scrimmages with Arkadelphia, the defending 4A state champion.
They're loaded.
And then we got CrossFit, and then we got the defending 3A state champion. So we're going to see some good football teams early. If we don't get beat up too bad physically, and get a bunch of injuries, it'll be a good deal for us. We'll be very prepared and ready to go when conference gets here.
Well, you're looking at 3A. We said here just 365 days last year. We were sitting talking about how wide open it is. It kind of looks that way. I mean, there's a lot of good teams. You especially just in your conference. You got Bismarck. You talked about Salem, who you're playing. Junction City. I mean, not Junction City, but a lot of different teams. Bismarck, Osceola. You got that conference, Walnut Ridge, Rivercrest. And that deal. There's a lot of great teams in this 3A, and it's probably the most exciting classification to watch last year. You know how to get to War Memorial. You've been there numerous times. The Curly Wolves they know that bus ride out up there. You got a lot of young guys. Talk to us a little bit. What's it going to take, with this young team to make that step and get to War Memorial in December?
Well, as soon as we got done last year, I'm talking about we turned our helmet. Well, ended up we didn't even turn all the helmets in. We kept a lot of our stuff in our lockers, and the next day we were back in the weight room. We didn't take any time off. We were right back at it, and our goal is to be the most disciplined team and penalty-free team that we've ever put out there. Last year, penalties hurt us. Some of them, I think, we got some bad deals on, but you feel like maybe something that happened earlier in the game might cause you to get one that might have been a little bit ticky-tack later in the game. So we're trying to make sure that we're still the mean, tough, hard-hitting Curly Wolves between the whistles. And then after the whistle, we're helping that man up, patting him on the butt and getting ready for the next play. And then we're going to be mean again between the whistles. We're going to be yes, sir, and no, sir to referees, and we're not going to give them any reason to call a close penalty on us later. We've had some in that Salem game. You'd look at it and be like, man, how was that a penalty? And maybe it was something we done earlier, and we're just the guys are bought into it. We don't know if that's why, but we think karma. Let's say like this: the good Lord takes care of good people, and we're going to try to be good people. And that's what our emphasis has been, and we've done a good job with it in 7-on-7. We've done a good job with it in team count. We did have a little pushing and shoving after a play this year or today for the first time all year, so we took half a step back, but we got us some belly flops and went right back out there and had no more problems.
That old belly flop, them old guts, it changes people's mind, doesn't it?
I'm telling you, it does. It does. But we're going to have to be disciplined. We can't shoot ourselves in the foot. We're going to have to play great defense. We're a speed up, go fast team, make the game go as long as possible. This year, we may control the tempo different. There may be games we want to shorten some games and grind it out. We think we're going to be able to run the ball a little bit and let Stockton distribute it to our receivers as well. But we've got to be disciplined, and penalty free, then we'll have a chance. By the time this thing's over, I think we might be a hard out when playoffs come around.
Well, that's the whole part, and your teams always get better as the year goes on. You're always playing your best football at the end with that team right there. We'll definitely keep on. Well, Coach, I as always love seeing you. Love you coming on the show, and I can tell you right now that Salem game will be probably a top 10 game of the week. It might be even the game of the week. So we'll have you back on. Hey, we appreciate you coming on. We'll see you down the road.
All right, Coach. I appreciate y'all having me. Look forward to talking to you later.
All right, see you, Coach.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Well, you can see Coach Glass is talking about this league. Thinks it's extremely tough. He's having to replace a lot of guys. Bismarck sitting there knows how to get there. Smackover's got a great quarterback. Harmony Grove is always in the mix there also. Daryl, talk to us a little bit about Bismarck, Prescott, and this 7-3A.
Well, Bismarck has definitely established themselves. They only got 4 the returning starters, though, on the offensive side, 6 on defense. Of course, Keithley's, Ben's back. He loses his Otis one. He needs to have more kids because they're really, really good. Bismarck, though, like I said, they broke through, got the Prescott. They beat Prescott last year. I'm sure that's going to be a circled game in this league for sure. And then, Prescott, there's a bunch of unknowns about them, but it's like that every 3 years with Prescott, and they just seem to find a way to do it. Once again, tradition means a lot. Smackover, I really like Smackover. I think Smackover can make some noise because one, Smackover's got a quarterback. I think they've got a chance to really make some things happen there. And once again, I think it's a 3-team race there. And the biggest thing is that since Bismarck knocked off the Giant last year in that league, can they do it again is the biggest thing. Doing it once.
They did it with a backup quarterback too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He came in and played a lot last year for him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was I think he might have been a freshman. Was he not a freshman, Thomas? And then
I'm trying to think. Maybe a sophomore. Let me see.
He was either a sophomore or a freshman. Because they kind of bumped.
No, it was Preston Hughes. He was a junior last year.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, they've got that guy coming back. He's got some experience too, and like I said, Coach Keithley's got those kids believing. They got a little taste of it in their mouth. So, I think they've got some momentum to win this league. But man, it's going to be a challenge with them top 3 teams, I think.
And Prescott, you say has some unknowns, but they have one known speed, and and that's all over the field.
And rings.
That's one thing.
They got rings. Thomas.
Rings. Yeah. Coach Glass likes those long
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. Hey, when you're having to design rings to make them look different, that's when you got some.
Those track stars. I mean, he told me where he's getting them. He's like, we couldn't spend this much money every year on rings. He's like, so we found a way to do it.
Yes. Yeah, they got to find a way.
They got to get creative.
Yeah, you got to cut out the middleman. Cut out the middleman.
Exactly. Well, I'm with you. I think Bismarck, they've kind of proven themselves. Prescott's not going to back down, even though they're rebuilding a little bit. And I'm with you. I like Smackover's quarterback. All right, 8-3A right here. Fordyce is a 1. I think are just rolling. Coach Rogers and those guys are doing an outstanding job. McGee's in there, rising. Coach Fareen's done a great job. Had a run last year. Lost their running back. That's a big hit. Dumas, Palestine, Barton, and that part of it. Fordyce, McGee league here. Are you thinking Thomas or rising? I think Coach Fareen and them will.
They're going to be back. They're going to be back. You lose a running back, you're fine. Yeah. Rising has plenty of guys, and the Coach Vereen's done an awesome job. They're going to fill it in and be right in the hunt, like they always are. Yeah. But McGee coming off a 6-win season, I think they've got a lot of guys coming back. But Fordyce should be the team to beat, and it's theirs to lose. And with Cadillac Ellison being a freshman all-state quarterback, now you got to think how much better is he going to be between his freshman year and sophomore year.
Yeah,
dude's a grown man. That guy Cadillac is a grown man. That guy,
yes,
that guy's well put together right there. Having that guy back, but yeah, I think it's Fordyce's to lose. You got so much experience coming back, but You're so you're so good at the skill positions in that league too. And then you have to play at Fordyce, which I'm telling you right now, hey,
Yes.
you want to watch a YouTube game? Hey, watch Fordyce. Those dudes are awesome too, man. They're great. I think one of them left like at the second quarter of a game to get a hot dog. He's like, hey, man, I'll be right back. I'll go get a hot dog.
The play-by-play guy?
Yeah. I mean, those dudes are awesome. I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Sounds like our filmers.
Yeah.
Filming from
the biggest thing about
stand.
Fordyce is their offensive line. It's kind of inexperienced.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach talked about it a little bit, but like I said, it doesn't take much to get make creases for those dudes to get downhill real fast. And this is a league that you look at and you just say the names Fordyce, Rising, McGee, Barton. I mean, those are historically unbelievable programs.
Yes.
And they're right in the mix every year because of the things that happen there. But Fordyce is coming off. They only gave up 13 points last year, and they averaged about 42. So, you got a lot of those kids coming back. They got they got 6 and 6 on both sides. And the wing T, baby. You gotta like the wing T.
Ellison has not lost a game as a starter. He went 13-0, then they gets hurt, and they lose the one game he's not in.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you gotta like Fordyce in this one. And Fordyce is going to make a heck of a run at it, too. They'll be right in the mix, I think.
Well, guys, let's just finish this up with this 3A a little bit. What do you – I mean, is Salem is it obviously, if you've got it's hard to pick. I mean, like the top 10 guys could win the thing. And then so, Daryl, who are your favorites out of this 3A? Good luck picking. You'll change by about week 3.
Oh, man, won't it, though? Especially, when they start playing each other is always the thing. You got to love Salem. I mean, they've been there, done that. They got the first one over with. Now it's, how do we repeat kind of thing. It's a quick reset there. Rivercrest changing changing coaches. The quarterback position there. Of course, you think that they'll be right in the mix too. Charleston is a good one. Fordyce, which we just talked about. I think Fordyce is the one that I'm leaning on right now, winning the whole thing. To tell you the truth, I think the Fordyce and that conference is going to help them because they're going to beat up on each other a little bit. The deeper your conference is, I think it makes you better in the long run. And then, of course, you've got Boonville. I mean, that could be a home playoff game at Boonville, which is not good for anybody if you screw around. And then you don't ever want to count out the Prescott Curly Wolves because you don't know. You don't know what they do. All they do is win. I mean, they just win and line up and win 9 games every year. I don't know. It's just got to be the 9 right ones, maybe 10. I mean, so you don't ever know in this league. Osceola too. We leave out Osceola. I mean, there's just too many to pick. All right, it's going to be rough picking 3A games. I'm telling you.
It is. It's definitely gonna be rough. I think the big game is gonna be the Boonville Charleston. That matchup. Who's gonna come out of the 1-3A on top? I think that's because Boonville and Charleston both can make a run. And then who are they gonna play? If they can play Salem and however the brackets line up and Fordyce. So I mean, I think those 4 teams are gonna make a run. Well, they're also competitive.
I really like Boonville, but then you sit there and talk about Salem, who went on the road last year to Mansfield. They went they got Prescott at home, but went on the road to Mansfield, so they're not scared to go on the road and win, and they know how to get there. But old Doc's kind of been quiet over there.
Oh yeah,
and that part of it, and I think they're but Osceola, Rivercrest is all in there. I mean. Prescott and that Fordyce is the other one you better keep an eye on. So can't wait to look for this. And like I said, this 3A, I think, is most competitive league from top to bottom. I mean, anybody can win it and everything. So, well, guys, appreciate it on this point. And wrapping up this 2A, 3A, we'll be back next week with the 4A, 5A. Well, for Coach Jeff Williams, Coach Daryl Fimple, and our guest, Thomas Thrash from Hootens, we'll see you next time.